I've had over 40 pizzas in the last 30 days.
Remember him? What's Papa John Schnatter up to now? An Indiana native, Schnatter had an entrepreneurial drive from a young age. He started making pizzas in a broom closet at his father's tavern in 1984. By the following year, they'd sold well enough that he opened his first Papa John's Pizzeria. By 1993, the chain was a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange and expanding rapidly.
It's a long way from making pepperoni pizzas to running a 300-store restaurant chain with over 5,000 employees in 18 states.
But while the company looked successful on the outside, people were already starting to call Schnatter's leadership into question. He was developing a reputation for being something of a loose cannon, and the company was starting to suffer. He first stepped down as CEO in 2005, but remained chairman. Even so, Forbes reports that he struggled with giving up control of Papa John's in any capacity, and claimed that he allegedly undermined the decisions of the replacement CEO, Nigel Travis, in front of their colleagues. When Schnatter returned as CEO in 2008, he hired close friends in top executive positions. In that time, multiple women, including employees, accused Schnatter of misconduct, and several of those allegations resulted in private settlements paid to the accusers. The company's boys' club atmosphere only got worse when Schnatter appointed Steve Ritchie as Papa John's chief operating officer in 2014. He ultimately became president of the company, despite the fact that many people questioned his qualifications. And while much of the messy behind-the-scenes details of Papa John's had remained private to that point, it was probably questionable calls like this that caused that to change. By 2017, Schnatter was riding high. That March, he made it to the Forbes billionaires list with an estimated net worth of $1 billion. By the end of the year, Papa John's had 5,199 restaurants across 50 states and over 40 countries. Unfortunately, 2017 was also the year that all came crashing down thanks to some unsavory comments from the CEO. Papa John's had been the official pizza of the NFL since 2010. Some of the league's biggest stars, including Hall of Famer Peyton Manning, even appeared alongside Schnatter in the chain's ads. But the year before, NFL players, most notably Colin Kaepernick, began taking a knee during the national anthem in quiet protest against police brutality and racial inequality in America. Schnatter got angry and blamed the actions of the NFL for a drop in pizza sales. During a November 2017 conference call, he said, "The NFL has hurt us by not resolving the current debacle to the players' and owners' satisfaction." Well, if he thought those comments would do anything to improve the situation, he was wrong. Within weeks, Papa John's stock dropped nearly 13%, and Schnatter took the brunt of the backlash. The following month, he stepped down as CEO. Once again, he retained his position as chairman of the board, while Ritchie took over as the big boss. Despite these efforts, by early 2018, Papa John's sponsorship deal with the NFL was over. You might think Schnatter's racially insensitive remarks about the NFL would have made him more cautious about what he said, but it didn't. In July 2018, Schnatter came under fire yet again for an eerily similar reason. That month, Forbes reported on a conference call Schnatter had with the marketing firm Laundry Service to sharpen his public relations that year. The story alleged that, while Schnatter was on the call, he was asked how he planned to distance himself from engagement with racist groups online. Schnatter replied by complaining that KFC's Colonel Sanders had used racist language but was never vilified for it. Even worse, he made the mistake of using a racial slur to get his point across. The former CEO confirmed the allegations in an email to Forbes, writing, "News reports attributing the use of inappropriate and hurtful language to me during a media training session regarding race are true. Regardless of the context, I apologize. Simply stated, racism has no place in our society." Unfortunately, owning up didn't do him any favors. Once the public caught wind of the incident, Papa John's stock market shares dipped by about 5%, and the 56-year-old promptly resigned from his post as chairman.
The board of directors on a Wednesday were my biggest fans, and then all of a sudden Sunday they kicked me to the curb.
His former company quickly issued a statement condemning racist language, and the contract between Papa John's and Laundry Service was ultimately terminated. Once again, Schnatter refused to back down. Within days of leaving the company, he sent a strongly worded letter to his former board. In it, he complained that he was asked to resign before the company properly investigated the Forbes article. He also accused Laundry Service of blackmailing Papa John's for $6 million to not release the recording, and that he was provoked into saying the slur in the first place.
Once I got on the call, they switched it from this is a brand marketing strategic initiative to this is going to be a diversity call with regards to race.
But there was nothing Schnatter could say that would change the board's mind. Whether he liked it or not, he was a liability. 3 days after Schnatter resigned, Papa John's announced it would be removing his image from its pizza boxes. Ultimately, Schnatter decided the way the board was pushing him out was illegal, so he sued. In court, he claimed that he didn't want to return to the CEO position. Even so, he owned 30% of the company and insisted he had a right to be involved with it. By 2019, John and Papa John's reached a settlement. Schnatter officially stepped down from the board, while Papa John's executives agreed to hand over certain documents Schnatter demanded and keep him involved while it selected a new director. While Schnatter's legal feud with Papa John's was settled years ago, his court battle with Laundry Service remains ongoing. He specifically called out Casey Wasserman, CEO of the company that owns Laundry Service, as the person who allegedly blackmailed Papa John's with the tape. Schnatter also continues to claim the conference call as a whole was a setup. From pretty much day one, this lawsuit has been a drama for the ages. In 2021, Schnatter released the full transcript of the infamous conference call in hopes that it would help prove that Laundry Service had it out for him. Then, during the discovery phase of litigation, Gibbons Law Alert reports that Schnatter submitted a cell phone for imaging to preserve information that the defense could use as potential evidence. But when Laundry Service's legal team found it was missing a lot of texts, Schnatter revealed that he regularly deleted messages on his phone. He went on to admit that he actually had 11 phones at the time of the conference call, and all of them had been destroyed. In response, Schnatter was ordered to pay part of Laundry Service's legal fees. For their part, Laundry Service has attempted to have the case dismissed, but that clearly hasn't happened. It's unknown exactly how much Schnatter wants from the marketing agency, but CNBC reports that if he wins anything, it'll go to charity. Papa John's had only been around for a couple years when Schnatter met his wife, Annette Cox. In his 2017 autobiography, Papa, The Story of Papa John's Pizza, Schnatter recounted how he and Cox first crossed paths days before the 1986 Kentucky Derby, and that they had been together ever since. Describing her, he gushed, "She's the only person in the world who can run a Papa John's store better than I can." Well, that particular talent didn't stop Cox from filing for divorce in December 2019. In court papers, she described their 32-year marriage as irretrievably broken. They legally separated on April 1st, 2019. At the time, Schnatter and Cox shared 2 adult children and owned multiple properties, including an 18,000 square foot mansion worth an estimated $11.2 million in Louisville, Kentucky. Their divorce was finalized on December 18th, 2019. Though, thanks to a settlement agreement, the details of the split weren't made public. Much like his divorce proceedings, Schnatter stayed relatively private after his professional and personal life blew up. His personal Instagram has been scrubbed of any content from before November 2019, and he deleted all but a few posts on X from that era as well. In recent years, though, he's gotten pretty into posting. These days, he often uploads shots of himself at high-profile sporting events or hanging out with his grandson on Instagram. He occasionally gets political and doesn't shy away from talking about Papa John's, but it seems like he's making an effort not to stir up too much controversy while using the platform. His relationship with X is a little bit different. He kept a handful of photos from before his falling out with Papa John's, but still went dark for quite a while. In November 2024, he returned to the platform to acknowledge the passing of Mark Kimmel, a friend and former business partner, and he's continued posting sporadically ever since. Meanwhile, he devotes his TikTok to almost exclusively talking about his former company and pizza at large.
Papa John's, I've been on their case now for 3 years that, hey, you better stop playing games with your food quality and your service.
Through interview clips where he discusses his time running Papa John's and duets criticizing how other people make pizza, he's made no effort to get away from the tomato pie industry, for better or worse. Despite the fact that he seems to associate meeting his ex-wife with the Kentucky Derby, Schnatter hasn't let his divorce impact his love for that particular event. In the caption for a 2025 TikTok, he took a rare break from complaining about his old company to call the Derby the greatest 2 minutes in sports. To honor it, he's thrown an annual bash at his Kentucky mansion every year since 2022. Judging by his social media, Schnatter hosts hundreds of people for the event and spares no expense to make it happen. Unsurprisingly, pizza is at the heart of the menu, and there are snacks, drinks, live music, and outdoor games in abundance at the soiree. He may not be at the top of the fast food game anymore, but at least he's keeping busy. If you've seen any of his old Papa John's ads, you know that John Schnatter is comfortable in the spotlight, and throughout his roller coaster of a career, he never lost that willingness to perform. These days, when he's not broadcasting his life on social media, Schnatter occasionally attends events to speak about business practices. His history with Papa John's is a frequent subject in these talks, though he's also used his platform to call out professional practices he doesn't agree with. Schnatter has spoken out against raising wages for fast food workers and expressed disapproval over how expensive fast food has become. In 2022, he also expressed that he thought leftist politics have contributed to the economic struggle small business owners face. If that sounds familiar, that may be because that's almost the exact same sentiment he expressed about the NFL protests a few years earlier. Despite how hard Papa John's has worked to wipe John Schnatter's imprint on the company from the media, Schnatter refuses to go away. On top of all the posting he does on socials, he's also embraced the podcast sphere. Schnatter appeared on Michael Franzese's podcast to share the story of how he led Papa John's to worldwide success.
The word better lifts the whole organization up.
In 1993, Papa John's went public. 2 years later, they'd almost tripled their value. So to be fair, there is something to that. On the Truth podcast with Vivek Ramaswamy, he discussed his business prowess and conservative views and criticized the Papa John's board's investigation of him. He also reminisced about his early days in the business on the Iced Coffee Hour, highlighting just how far he'd come from his humble beginnings.
This was early on. My brother and I, on a Tuesday night, did $200 in sales. And we were jumping up and down. We thought, wow, we're rich.
It seems no amount of backlash will stop Schnatter from grabbing the table mic and telling it like it is, or at least how he thinks it is.